Just getting up, getting started right now. About to go live here on Instagram and YouTube. All right. So, for those of you who have entered, welcome on in. For those of you who are yet to enter and watch this at a later time, welcome on in. I am Coach Michael, and this is a presentation for you of the 9 stages of infidelity. And it's what it is an explanation pretty much of why a cheater cheats, because that's a number one question, is when someone is betrayed, someone is married, they're in a relationship, they spend their life with someone, or they create a life with someone, and they cheat on them. And the first question is always why. We made this big commitment, we created this life, we've done all of these things, all of these memories, we have children together. Why? Right. And so we're going to discover the 9 stages of the 9 stages of infidelity, and what it is, again, why a cheater cheats and how to fix it. Because there is no excuse for cheating. There's never an excuse for cheating. There are only issues that people have, and they use cheating as a way to escape them, much like alcohol, much like drugs, much like gambling, much like all of these things. And so let's go over the 9 stages of infidelity. The very first stage is the cause. Stage number one is the cause. That is the event or events that started the cheater down the negative path. The events could have been events in the current marriage or relationship. They could have been events in a past relationship. They could have been events before any relationship with anyone else. They could have been past events from a childhood, an accumulation of all of these things, right? But usually what happens is in that marriage or in that relationship, there is an event or an event that damages the trust in some way, that damages something, the relationship in some way, and it begins to take a negative path. Okay. What happens many of times is there is a change in the relationship, maybe increase in work, maybe extra stress, whatever the situations are. The two partners begin to argue, causes a disconnect. And in disconnect, a lot of bad things can happen, and we're going to explore that. But in that disconnect of perhaps maybe time apart, a lot can happen with whatever those events are, or even an event of in the relationship of a betrayal. Maybe one of the partners finds out, the other one is uh, being friendly and messaging, no actual flirting, right? But just, hey, how you been? Catching up with the next or something like that, right? And then ever since then, it's just been never recovered from that. So there's a cause. And what happens after the cause is stage two, which is the emotional effect. So an event happens that you do not like, and you react to it emotionally. Top three automatic, basic, negative emotional reactions are fear, sadness, and anger. And it sprouts from there. The emotions sprout, right? Because uh, thank you, Ina Acero. I got my fiance in here showing some support. Thank you so much. But it sprouts from the emotional effects. So when something first happens, you might feel confused. And then later on, you start thinking about it and you start drawing these interpretations in your mind, which we are going to go over. But the sadness can create, maybe anger, which turns into resentment. There is an emotional effect, loneliness. So uh, my spouse began to travel more, or whatever the situation. I began to feel lonely. Maybe they became more busy and stopped contacting me and texting me so much. So I began to feel not important. I began to feel sad and alone, and right, which leads to stage number three, the interpretation. So when events happen that we do not like, we react to them emotionally, negatively emotionally, and then right after that, we begin interpreting. You see, we began interpreting since we were children. We came into this world not knowing anything. And though our parents were around and teachers were around and people were around to teach us. But there were times when things did happen and no one was around to explain to us why that happened. And we were forced to draw our own conclusions. And a lot of the times, how we emotionally react and interpret is the same way since we were as a child. We develop coping mechanisms, you see, defense mechanisms, right? So a child is on a playground bouncing a ball. Another child comes along and pushes him, her, whoever, and takes the ball, and walks away. And nobody explains why that happened to that child. And so that child doesn't know what to think. I'm confused. Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but I just feel some way. Okay, I kind of feel sad. Why do I feel sad? Why did this person take the ball away from me? That wasn't nice. I was just playing and having a good time. I didn't do anything to this person. Why did they do that? Well, then we begin interpreting. We begin drawing our own conclusions. Well, they must have done that because they seen that I was having fun and they did not like that. And they wanted to take away my fun and they wanted to have fun instead. And so, what does that tell me about the world? What does that tell me about people? What does that tell me about when I'm having fun? Don't let other people see you having fun because they're going to take it away from you and be mean to you when they see that. So I'd better do something about that. I'd better develop some kind of way to protect myself. So I'm going to be mean and be very closed off and very quiet, right? So that doesn't happen anymore. Right? But nevertheless, the interpretation, you know, the interpretations that we create, stage three, is when those events happen, we begin feeling a certain way, we begin negatively, falsely interpreting a certain way. That's what happens when we don't communicate. Hmm. We begin uh, just drawing our own conclusions of why our partner did that, why this is happening in our relationship, what this means about me, what this means about my spouse. All the there's a lot of communication going on, but here it's not happening out here. So we can't express ourselves and let our partner know, hey, this is how I feel. And our partner can say, hey, whoa, that's not at all what's going on. This is what's going on. Hey, it's and you come to the understanding. Right. But nevertheless, no one's around to explain to you as a child. So then you draw your own conclusions. Maybe you're in the habit of that. Well, I'll just figure it out on my own. Okay. But then what happens? Okay, we so with interpretations as well. So why is my partner all of a sudden not spending as much time with me? Why are they saying no to me now? Whenever I want to become intimate, why are they saying no now? What is going on here? It just makes me feel rejected. Maybe they're doing that because they're not attracted to me anymore. Maybe they're not talking to me as much anymore because they found someone else to talk to. And that other day when they were too busy to call me at lunch, you know what? They were talking to them. Hmm. Okay. Right. So these things continue to happen, but nevertheless, these interpretations, these events, feelings, and interpretations then lead you to what? Because at that point, you feel lack. You feel you are lacking. You are less than. You are in a place where you are here or here, wherever you were, and now you are here and you don't like it. Right? We feel why we do what we do is we feel a certain way that we don't like, and we found another way, an easy way to make us feel opposite of that. Okay. And so when we do that, we just that's that easy go to. That's what it is. It's that easy go to of how we deal with our problems, how we deal with our problems. But the desire is the next stage. What we begin desiring at that point. So we're in a marriage, we're in a relationship, everything's great and good. And then all of a sudden, the attention, oh, not spending much time together, right? Uh, I don't like it. Something's going on here. I feel less than. Now I'm desiring something. What am I desiring? Maybe I'm desiring somebody to tell me that, I'm good enough. I am attractive and I am appreciated and I'm a good partner. And what I do in this relationship should be enough. I shouldn't be feeling this way. Hmm. Wish somebody would tell me that, because this would take away my sadness. This would take away my issues of rejection that I haven't addressed yet. Rejection's big. I know about it. And so we begin desiring something out there, right at that stage, to combat that feeling, to combat that thought, that haunting thought we keep going back to, creating a circle of not a circle of life, but a circle of something else. The way you think is the way you feel, and the way you feel is the way you think, and the way you think and feel is the way you act. So you begin desiring something, and desiring companionship. I begin desiring comfort because right now I feel alone and anxious and sad and not enough and not confident. I wish someone or something could just remove all of this. I wish there was just a button I could push. But here comes a person telling me everything that I want from my partner, and it's all right here, easy and available. But they're not mad at me from our own past issues, like my partner is, or we don't have problems like a partner is, so I could just enjoy this person and get everything I want from them, and it's easy. Yes, it's wrong, but it's not that wrong, is what we tell ourselves a lot of the times. Hmm? Hmm? You know what I'm talking about? So we begin desiring, and then the next stage after that is the action. How we begin pursuing our desires. Hmm? What we're desiring. How did we act upon them? So it is very important to, if you are a cheater, like I was for a very long time, serial bad. I was very bad. I was very good at something very bad. But to know what your patterns are, so you can stop yourself, so you know why. You have other options. You have to think, feel, be that way, and do that to people. Mm. But going back and going, okay, so when something happens in my relationship, what is my usual pattern? This is now so now we're talking about if a cheater wants to change, a liar, whatever it is, whatever betrayer. What is my usual pattern? What are the events that happen? How do I feel? How do I begin interpreting? What do I begin desiring? And then how do I begin acting on my desires? Do I pick up a phone and start messaging some people I used to know? Do I go back on that dating site? Do I go back on some other sites? Maybe some live sites? Maybe it's just that one person that I can always go to, but will never tell me no. What is the action? How do you act upon your desires? And so then this leads to a very important stage, and we do this in many areas of our lives. We justify. It's the justification. The next stage is the justification. Again, if you are coming in late, we are going over the 9 stages of infidelity, why a cheater cheats, and how to fix it. This is something that I created on my own of years and years of freaking cheating and figuring it out. The justification, how we justify our actions. One of the most common justifications you will hear is it just happened. It meant nothing. It was a mistake, right? Or one of the most common justifications you might hear is, well, you weren't around. What was I supposed to do? Right? Severe lack of accountability. People justify, well, you weren't showing me attention, so, you know, I do everything around this house for you, for us. And then what are you doing? You're over here doing this and you're doing that. Well, where does that leave me? The justification, well, what I'm doing isn't wrong. I'm just texting somebody. Okay, we're just texting, not flirting. All right, it's just not that bad. It's not that bad. We begin justifying our own actions. We begin saying, well, I'm only going to do it for a little bit. Oh, don't I know it? Don't I know it all too well? Don't I know well, you know what? The resentment, even the justification will give you well, that's what they get. That's what they get. That was mine. That was my go-to. That's what you get for acting fill in the blank. Okay. Hmm. Then obviously you would see justification is this as well. I want to do something. I know it's not good for me. So how can I convince myself that it's not as bad as it really is? Or how can I convince myself what story can I create so that I can continue pursuing my desires? Using another person for my desires. Because it's a person, it's not the person, it's what that person gives you. Because all of a sudden, if that person stopped giving you what they were giving you, you would not feel the same about them. No, okay. Issues. The next stage now so again we're going into the if a cheater wants to change, going and finding their issues of perhaps entitlement, going upon your justification. You may have convinced yourself that you deserved it. Maybe you have issues of entitlement. You think things should be easy for you and given to you, and when they're not, it's your fault. But going back and seeing our issues, deep issues, right? So it's not just issues of like, yeah, I got issues of cheating. I mean, that's a byproduct of the real problem. The real problem are what issues you have that lead you to choose to cheat. And going back and going, okay, this is my issue of loneliness, like me. When I first started really examining myself, I said, I'm going to figure this out this time. I've had enough of this. And I found that, okay, when I get this way, I feel afraid, I feel fear, I feel anxiety, and I feel lonely. So, hmm, loneliness. I have issues of loneliness. Huh. I noticed that a lot of the times at night, I'm sad for no reason. And I just wish someone was there all those nights, all those times. So I jump from relationship to relationship, realizing you have issues of loneliness and directly, you know, what I mean is every time I do that means addressing that issue. I see a couple of comments here. Kevin, I appreciate you. Says, have you thought about writing a book, brother? Appreciate you, brother. I don't like to talk about deals before they're done, but keep watching. I'll just say that. Stay tuned. Examining your issues. And it's not easy. It's not comfortable to look at yourself in the mirror like I did. After I broke this girl's heart, she was crying on my shoulder, and the cry was haunting. I can still hear it now. It sounded like a mixture of sadness, anger, and confusion all in once. And I remember just hearing that cry and just, oh man, that really got to me that day. I remember I went home, I looked at myself in the mirror, I said, Michael, you're dangerous to women. You got problems, man. You can't even you're not even responsible enough to be in a relationship. You're not responsible enough to do life with somebody. You're not even responsible enough to do life on your own, Michael. That was tough. It's tough saying those things and realizing those things about ourselves, but not so that we can beat ourselves up like I used to and say, I keep bringing myself into this because, yeah, all these issues, I didn't think I know about all of it. But so that we can get to the root of it. This is all for something. You go to the gym, it hurts lifting those weights. It's not comfortable breathing that hard, but the juice is worth the squeeze. So you do it for the result. Sometimes you got to go through the dark shadows. What is it? The valley, right? To get to that valley, that beautiful valley. Sometimes you're going through that dark, lonely forest where you don't know the path where it's going to lead, but you begin to trust it. That's for another day. But now we're coming into the issues or the origins of the issues, I should say. Where did we get those issues? Going back and taking the inventory of our lives and connecting the dots. Oh, this happened when I was little. I used to get bullied when I was little. I was abused when I was little. Hmm. What did that do? Hmm. First three relationships I had, they all left me for someone else. Hmm. What did that do? Going back, and I laugh because it's all too real. Going back and reflecting and going, where did those issues occur? Where did they first start? Where did they create? And going back and reversing that, going back and healing at the root. It's like this. What we do is it's like a weed in the ground. Okay. Here's the trauma, and here are all the insecurities or negative coping mechanisms that it creates. And then here's the ground. What do we do to cope, right? Which we try to do these other things like drink, cheat, drugs, whatever it is, to try to deal with our issues. But then what happens if we don't pull the weed out? It's going to grow back, right? You got issues. You cheat, takes it away, but then when you're done cheating, come right back. You got to go to the root where it all first started. Maybe you have issues of resentment because you never forgave your dad for how he treated you and how tough he was on you, and it always made you feel like you just weren't enough, and you could just never impress him. You could just never. Can you just tell me you're proud of me, Dad? Do you still have issues with your dad? Is it still you haven't forgiven your mom? Maybe there's something you've been meaning to tell your mom, but you've been afraid to. I don't know. I don't know. Everybody has. That's what it is too. Everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their past. Everybody has their battle. Everybody. I don't care who you know and how good you think their life is. Not even me. Anyone. Everyone. They all have their battles. And going back and going, you know what? I'm going to end the battle. I'm going to stop trying to create the peace out here to try to get it here. I'm going to create it here first to then get it here. Hmm? That's the only way you do it. It's a mistake I made for years, thinking that if I made my life this way, then it would make me this way. Let me pretend I'm this way while trying to make my life this way. Mm-mm. You make it this way here. You stop becoming conditional of your peace and of your happiness, and you choose to create it within. Not just once, not just twice, not just thrice, every day and in every way. Where the attention goes, the energy flows, and where it goes, grows. The origins of your issues, going back and healing those. There's many things you can do to reverse trauma. Because remember, trauma is a memory that's locked in your brain and body. And in order to, what created that trauma was a powerful event or events. And so it is creating a powerful event that's just as powerful, more powerful, or other events done consistently over time to influence a new belief, to influence a new chemistry of you, who you are, how you think, how you feel, how you deal and wheel. Last stage is the cure. And that's what I was already going into it. The cure. You take a full inventory of yourself and why you do what you do, when you started doing that, how you started doing that. You begin doing that outer work, things that happen out here, but then also what happens in here. You see, the trauma is data and information that's stored in the cells of our body. We are a program. Your brain is a program. You automatically think, feel, identify, believe, and achieve what you think. What you believe to be true, you will always make sure that it is. Who you believe you are, you will always make sure that you are, even if you don't like it. Self-sabotage. Well, but the cure, going back and creating those events to influence change. You see, we as human beings are a product of habit. Habits shape who we are. And when we have negative habits, we must replace those with positive ones. But though it must be done manually. So behaviors done consciously, actively, manually, done over time consistently, then become habits. And you see, all meanwhile that is happening, those events are occurring. Your body is auto saving those experiences in the cells of your body and creating a new you, creating a new identity that says, oh, all of a sudden, Michael is no longer alone because he does things where he's very loving to himself. He writes letters to himself. He does things with himself, like play with football cards, like he used to do as a child to signal that he loves himself. So if he loves himself and he has this big, gigantic inner relationship with himself, he's no longer alone. So what does that mean about anxiety? What does that mean about when Michael is alone? What does Michael do? How does Michael think? And at that point, that's when you program that in. You command it in, right? It's thoughts, words, writing, recordings. Day in and day out, you choose it. Okay. But we're going to wrap up. That's it for today. Going to be going on a dinner date with my two beautiful daughters. And was a pleasure. Okay. And so I appreciate you all for entering on in. I hope this helped. Keep on entering and watching. If you have not already, this is the big thing right here. If you have not already checked out Stronger Together, my online course, I teach the 9 stages of infidelity in there. It's a do it yourself of how to discover your core issues of cheating and fix them. Okay. The links are everywhere where you can get it. And all my home pages, my bio, my website, it's all there. So go and get it. It's only 97 bucks. There's sections for you, the unfaithful, and sections for you, the betrayed. Video lessons, PDF exercises, and a certain section where you go into the 9 stages of infidelity and you discover your core issues of cheating so you can stop, because that is the only true way to rebuild trust, is to best ensure that what broke it the first time will not break it again. This is a microphone, okay? Because that is the number one concern. If I take you back, are you going to do it again? Nonetheless, I know I get rough and tough in here, you guys. I'm serious. Maybe get a little delirious, but nonetheless, it's a pleasure. I wish you all the best. Please tune into the next one if I'm lucky enough that you'll join. It's always a pleasure having you. Much love, peace, beauty, abundance, prosperity to you all. Thank you all so very much. Have a great night.